This is What's the Go. It's a bit of a bogan name for a podcast, but please give it a go.
That's good. You use the kind of the name of the thing in the suggestion.
Monty, how are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm full of sports. Excited to talk sports.
Yeah? Well, what sort of sporty stuff's caught your eye?
Made a whole bunch of stuff. For instance, watched the Tigers last night. That's my team.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was happy with Packer. He was an angry man, but other than that, not too happy with the performance.
Yeah, well, I didn't think Packer stood out that much. Do you think he did?
No, I don't think he played well, but I did like him laugh him at Madison when he knocked him out.
Oh, right.
Because, Madison's a Benedict Arnold. I was going to swear there, but I won't.
Look, I'm going to say a couple of headlines that caught our attention. Iron Mike, Mr. Tyson, he's back. Everyone's been going, who's he going to fight? What's he going to do? Roy Jones Jr. apparently is the answer to that question.
Do you think you get to a certain age and you can no longer call yourself Junior? He's just Roy Jones now.
Well, presumably Senior's still around, isn't he?
Is he Senior or is he just Roy Jones?
Well, okay.
Is anyone ever Senior or do you just become Senior once you have a Junior?
I just think he referred to as Senior if you happen to come up in conversation.
It's not his name. Could you name your child Senior?
Well, what about Peter Senior?
Peter Senior, good point. I like that. Senior would be a good name.
Catch-22 style gag.
Yeah, nice.
AFL CEO Gillan McLachlan says Queensland's a great option for AFL Grand Final. Could that be because Melbourne's munted?
Yeah, that's why he said it. That was part of the... Yeah, that
doesn't it go without saying that anywhere else would be a good grand final option?
Well, I think the newsy bit of that story is that he said Queensland. Like, he didn't say Sydney. He didn't say Wagga Wagga. He didn't say, Eurobadalla.
I didn't find that surprising, I guess.
Really? You thought that... So your natural first thought for an AFL granny following... I thought it would have been Adelaide.
Right. And Shayna Jack reaches out to a stressed-out Bronson Cherry. That was a headline this morning on Friday.
Yeah, when we talked about that earlier, I told you, that's not really a headline.
Why did someone write a story about that?
Yeah, that's good. That's a nice thing that happened for them.
Yeah, but how does it inform the public about anything of use?
Nothing. There's nothing there.
Come on, guys. News.com.au? All right, so what's interesting you this Friday, Monty, in the sports world?
So I've got a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about. I wanted to talk to you about what's going on in American sports currently.
Yeah.
Because, I like American sports and I like the weirdness of what's going on. So currently there are some people getting some really, really large contracts.
Yeah.
Have you heard about this?
You've told me about Pat Mahomes.
Yes, well said, Pat Mahomes. What it is this week, Mookie Betts, who is a shortstop for the Los Angeles Dodgers, used to play for my Boston Red Sox.
I'll shortstop you there. Name, please?
Mookie Betts.
Mookie?
Yep. Mookie. Like the character from Do the Right Thing.
Oh, okay. That makes it better.
Yeah, good, thank you. So Mookie Betts, amazing baseball player, signed a 1-year prove-it deal for the Los Angeles Dodgers, but then this 1-year prove-it deal was kind of done with COVID, so it kind of didn't work. So Dodgers, even without seeing him play, they'd seen him play for the Red Sox, were just like, screw it, let's give you a 12-year contract extension for, get this, $390 million.
That's quite an extension.
Yeah. Another good stat here, he's the second highest paid baseball player. Mike Trout gets more with $426 million over the same time period.
Stop. Mike Trout?
Yeah, Mike Trout. What
is with these names?
I don't know. Baseball, man. They got weird names. Mike Trout is the best player in decades, maybe. That's harsh to say, but he's the best player in baseball, but he's very quiet and plays for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which is a weirdly named team. It's not a huge market, and he keeps quiet. They need to get him doing more stuff. Either way, that's a topic for other times.
Is it?
So Mookie Betts got this big contract. And then about 2 weeks ago, Pat Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, got a huge contract. He got $477 million for 12 years, base contract.
Yep.
With incentives, he could get up to $502 million over 12 years.
You would expect in these COVID times that, there'd be a bit of conservatism
Yeah, right.
in terms of
No, you're right.
player payments.
Yeah. People are struggling with JobKeeper, JobSeeker, and Pat Mahomes.
Very relevant to American football clubs.
Hey, I got to make it personal so the listeners understand. And they're giving out these ridiculous amounts of money. The weirdest thing I find is that in both cases, a lot of the reports have been that it's good value for the teams.
Yeah. Okay. And so is there a chance, just for my benefit, that when Mike Trout has children, we might call one of them Mookie?
Mookie Trout.
And we might have Mookie Trout hanging about?
I think Mookie Trout is a like one of those hard-to-eat, like Scandinavian fish dishes.
I imagine it like a kind of river trout that lurks about under submerged logs.
Oh, a Mookie Trout.
Doesn't get a lot of sunlight.
Yeah, wow. I feel like we're verging on insulting here, but I don't know.
Why? What, to who? Trout?
No, Mookie.
Well, it's an amusing sounding name, and I don't care who has a problem with that.
Mookie does.
But Mookie must know.
Mookie.
Good full stop to put on that. Thank you.
The other thing I wanted to tell you about was the National Basketball Association, the NBA, the league.
Oh, yeah?
The league.
Tell me more.
It's happening. It's kicking off. It's back next week. So, COVID obviously put a stop to it. The first league around the world to stop was the NBA. They had one positive test, and immediately David Silver, the commissioner, put a stop to the whole league, which was quite big, quite different, and everyone followed suit.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing.
Was that in the middle of March Madness?
It was that. So okay. Good for you, sports podcast host. March Madness is a college basketball thing, and it didn't go ahead this year because of COVID.
Right.
But
it's more me trying to work out the timelines than anything else.
It happened in March.
I don't need your scorn.
Yeah, well, you'll get my scorn. They were the first to put a stop to it, so we've all been watching them, especially in America, to see when they'll come back. They have come back in a bubble, which I love, in Disney World in Orlando, Florida. Also great.
Thank you.
So, what's happened is they're going to go, they've kind of shortened the season, they're going to have a few games to get everyone warmed up and then go straight into the playoffs, which is part of the reason I feel weird about it. There are 3 teams in there from either league, I believe, 3 or 2 teams, that probably won't make the playoffs. So we're just there as kind of cannon fodder for the first kind of couple of games.
Right.
Which I find a little weird.
Is that there for purposes of warming up?
Pretty much.
Warming into the bubble.
Exactly. Warming into the bubble.
Right.
Warming into the bubble. And then as your team is eliminated, you will return home out of the bubble.
Yep.
There is roughly 1,000 people in the bubble because that includes, there's 346 players who, up to this date, none of them have tested positive, which is pretty good.
Right.
Pretty good.
I would like to imagine there's some theatrics around teams getting pushed out of the bubble.
Oh, like a live execution kind of thing?
Like Disneyland security comes and frog marches teams out.
Love it. I hope that's televised too. Yeah, like a Big Brother elimination. Yeah.
And they can all be kind of dramatically resisting it.
As soon as the buzzer goes at the end of the game, the security come out and come out of the bubble, guys. That's good. I like that. Yeah. I like that. I hope someone's listening to this.
Golf carts come out. They just push the players into them and start driving them out.
There's a lot of interesting things. There's a lot of articles about... So the other people in that 1,000 are media members and team kind of staff and stuff like that.
Right.
And by all accounts, there's not much going on in the bubble. You can't do much. There's not much food. They provide the food.
Hang about. They're at Disneyland, aren't they?
Well, I don't know if they are. It's at Disney World Complex, but I don't think they're allowed to go on the rides, etc.
Surely other people aren't on the rides, so why can't the players go on the rides?
You would think that, but Florida reopened Disney World pretty recently.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, they're not doing so well.
The world. It's a weird place. My name's Stuart Buckland, and some guests and I are going to look at all the weird stuff that happens in this world of ours. Is that suitably vague enough for you? Bit weird, but fair enough, I guess. Find this podcast wherever you listen to other podcasts. Welcome back from that break. Was the ad helpful? Is it
To me? Are you asking me?
No, not you. To the people that are listening to this, I'm just keen to know whether that product and or service was of use to you. If so,
Write in. Let us know.
let us know. Tell us how happy you are.
Use the code.
Yep, the code, that one. A bit of action on the team name front in America at the moment. Now, there's been a lot of talk over the last few years just about how sensitive some team names are. And so we've got a couple of...
I would think they'd be more insensitive.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
That's what it boils down to. But we have a couple of interesting changes, don't we?
Yeah, a couple of changes and a couple of just new names. So the change that's going to be on everyone's thoughts at the moment is the Washington Redskins.
Yeah, probably the most famous name that has caused an uproar, right?
Yeah, and it is not good times for the Washington Redskins at the moment. Their maniacal despot of an owner, Dan Snyder, is in trouble at the moment already over the sexual harassment allegations. Not at him, but of the culture of the business, which came out in the WAPO last week, which was a big story.
We'll check the lawyers are okay with calling him maniacal.
Yeah. Yeah, bring it, Snyder.
Snyder listens to Australian sport podcast, doesn't he?
I assume he listens to all things said about him. But they have been known as the Washington Redskins for quite some time, which people... in the last decade have started to say, this is not acceptable, even as far as a lot of sports commentators in America refer to them as the Washington Professional Football Team, which is good because this year the new name they've settled on is the Washington Football Team.
Now, to me, having heard that sounds like an FU.
To people saying change your name?
Yeah, because they've held out so long. Now, they've had plenty of time to think of alternatives, right?
Yep, they sure have.
So to come up with the Washington Football Team is almost like we can't have that name, so we're going to be as generic and bland as possible.
Well, look, they are not going to stay the Washington Football Team. It is for this year only. They are rebranding in 2021.
But again, my point is, this has been a topic of discussion for years. Surely they've thought of possible alternatives in the last few years.
Yeah, they absolutely have.
Why do they need the rest of the year to figure it out?
I know, and also they are, the capital of America. Surely you could come up with kind of real American-based names.
Yeah, the Rushmores.
The Rushmores, the Washingtons.
Yeah. No, that doesn't work. The football... No, that doesn't work.
The Patriots. No, that's
taken as well.
Right,
the Magas.
Magas is good. Yeah. Magas is good. Yeah, okay. If you have any suggestions, please write in. But the other team name that we're going to talk about is, finally, thank the Lord, Seattle is getting hockey back. And that has been on the cards for quite some time. They're coming back in the next season, and they have today announced their name. It's divided people. I like it a lot. What do you think, Stu? They are the Washington State Seattle Kraken.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think, I like the name Kraken. I think it might suit another team. I'm just wondering whether it suits Seattle, because does Seattle have like a long and proud seafaring tradition?
Absolutely. They are in the northern Pacific Ocean, which is
I know that.
That's where you find the Kraken.
Is it?
Well, yes. I think it's a mythical being.
Wow.
Maybe it's not, actually.
Well, it depends how big a squid you want to term a Kraken. Are you happy calling a 10-foot squid a Kraken?
I am.
Well, there you go. Maybe Seattle are too.
I think they're a seafaring town. I mean, Seattle's on a sound.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I just didn't know that they were famous for being...
What were you thinking? Maybe the Starbucks?
Oh.
That's where the coffee comes from.
The Pointy Towers.
Pointy Towers. Pointy Towers is good. That's actually...
The Frasers.
The Frasers.
How about that?
Fraser Cranes. Yeah. That's good. I like Kraken better than all our ideas so far.
Okay, last one. The Seattle tossed salad and scrambled eggs.
Baby, I hear the blues are calling, tossed salad and scrambled.
Don't tell me that wouldn't get people.
Mercy!
And you can have two mascots. One's a salad bowl.
And one's Niles. Yes, I like it.
One is the dirty old chair that the dad used to sit in.
Yeah. Nice. Or the dog.
No, that's too obvious. You want something that people are going to go, it's the chair with the masking tape on it.
I like their apartment. I quite like that apartment.
It's a good apartment.
Am I led to believe that Frasier, Niles, his father, and the English nanny live in the apartment?
Well.
Or is it just the father's apartment?
No, I think it's Frasier's apartment. The father's moved in. And I just think that Niles and the other one don't leave. Or maybe she is live-in.
I think she might be live-in.
Is the nanny, is it a nanny or a mate? What is she?
Well,
a
she
carer?
can't be a carer.
Yeah,
a carer.
Is she a live-in carer on Frasier?
Maybe.
Write in. Let us know to the What's the Go socials or the What's the Go at outlook.com.
We'd also love to hear what you think of the name the Kraken, but I think I'd prefer to hear if she is a live-in carer
We
first.
need to know if she's a live-in
that's
carer.
far more important.
And if so, does that mean that there should be more sexual chemistry between Frasier and the carer?
Isn't that the whole go, though? There is, isn't there? But there isn't.
I want more.
Stu, are there any teams you think in Australia that maybe need a name change?
Maybe the Gold Coast Titans, because they haven't had enough names over the years.
Ah, nice. Yeah. What, something like the Crushers? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, just the... I thought that... Well, the Adelaide Rams in the NRL.
Oh, no.
Rams didn't get a long enough go.
No, they didn't, did they? Rams is a good football name, too.
I reckon.
Yeah.
All right. So what about in the AFL? Let's think...
I've always thought I am a big fan of my Sydney Swans, but the name is a little less intimidating than I think it could be.
Surely is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the maniacal Swans, perhaps.
Well...
Swans sometimes get quite angry at you.
They do. Dockers is also not a very scary name. Is that just someone who works on the docks?
Yeah, which is kind of scary.
I suppose
painters
it is,
and
actually.
dockers.
Yeah.
You're going to watch out for that. Yeah.
All right.
Unionists, they are.
Yeah.
You got to watch out for that. Mate, what are you suggesting the Dockers should change their name to something like the Kraken?
So we all know how the Broncos are going, right? We know that...
They're crap. They're going crap.
Well, yeah. I assumed everyone knew that. They are not attractive to watch. They are not playing a brand of football that people associated with the club are particularly proud of.
I think I saw one of them crying.
The players?
Yeah. Several of them.
But
perhaps.
yeah, I'm not. I don't think it's because they don't care. I think they do care.
They
and
care
they're trying
so much.
a lot.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think you cry because you don't care.
Yeah, and just
Maybe you're just crying because you really don't want to be. I hate it here. Why am I doing this?
or something reminded you of your nan.
Oh.
But there's an article here from the Herald this week about Phil Murphy, who owns 22% of the Broncos club, and he had a bit to say this week.
22%, that's not much.
Well, it depends if
It's more
there's...
than I own of the Broncos.
Yeah, but it depends if there's 78 other people who own 1%. That makes him a pretty significant figure.
That's a good point. Is there 78 other people?
I believe that's how it works,
okay, sure.
yes.
Sorry, what did he say?
So he's talked to this journo this week, and he's just let fly a little bit, to be perfectly honest. He's gone, the whole team and those around it are impotent at the moment.
Is this football related or just?
Well, that's the.
Are they training on a nuclear dump? Perhaps is that what's happened? Maybe this is his way of letting the players know that these are results of a test.
So just like Brookvale was infected with asbestos, right? Red Hill, their training ground,
is on an ex-nuclear dump, and this is his way of letting them know they're all impotent now.
Yeah, well, they're impotent and their tatties aren't going to work.
Hey.
Okay. So, look, there's no leadership and no direction. I guess that means, about kind of why build a training ground on a nuclear dump, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're all on Valium, Murphy said.
So they're impotent and they're all drugged up.
Yeah. But also, as an owner and a stakeholder in the club, wouldn't he be the one paying for the Valium? Just cut off the Valium funds, mate.
Why do you keep leaving Valium around the training ground, the ex-nuclear dump training ground?
So there's going to be a big meeting, and they're going to talk about the future of the club.
Are they? Because no one's going to be awake. They're all just going to be worried about their impotency and drugged up off the valves.
The next thing he says is, to be totally frank, I don't have any words, which is a kind of stark contrast to the paragraph before where he had lots of words.
Where he called them impotent
about being
talk
impotent
about their
and being
Valium
on
addictions. Yeah. This is a good press conference so far.
There
Or
are
just
no
a chat.
words to describe what has gone on there. Again, you just gave us some
you're using
descriptive
words.
words.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
this is probably something you put at the start and then go, hang on, I've thought
But
of
I've got
some
some words.
I just
Yeah.
came up with some words.
Yeah.
I bought into the club because I love what the Broncos did represent. So he's using past tense there. That's a bit cutting, isn't
that's
it?
fine.
I think it's a mental issue at the moment. They are all like a deer in the headlights. If the leaders aren't putting their heart and soul into it, nobody can expect the babies of the team to do the same. They are lost. There's a lot of words there for something that didn't have many descriptive words to use, right?
No, and also so that they're all sleepy at the wheel with the Valium. They got no potency, and the leadership is gone. Well, of course the leadership's gone because they're all drugged up off the valves and got no potency.
Yeah. Plus, also, if they're on Valium, I picture something that's quite opposite to being a deer in headlights, because a deer in headlights would be very wide-eyed and alert.
Yeah, you're thinking more of just a sleeping deer in the middle of the road.
Oh, okay. So it can be a deer in the headlights. It's just
Yeah, the
like
deer doesn't know the headlights are on it.
unconscious
though.
deer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All
yeah.
right.
Okay. Well, all right. We've passed that.
Yeah.
Okay, I get you.
Okay, but they're also babies. So are we picturing babies or are we picturing deer now?
Well, the leadership is trying to help the babies.
Right.
Foal?
Yeah.
Is it baby deer?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what we have is an unconscious baby deer,
Well, impotent, unconscious, valved up baby deer.
drugged up baby deer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now we have a coherent picture
We're painting a picture here.
of what.
No words, though.
Yeah, there's no
Although
words.
you've-
No words to describe it. Where we have an unconscious
Rich tapestry of words by the sound of it.
impotent baby deer. Okay. So Murphy said he knew every sports team, no matter how influential, went through tough times, but how they responded was the measure of success. He said there seemed to be
You
conflict.
know who didn't go through tough times?
Go on.
The Harlem Globetrotters. They've never been on hard times.
And you know what? They weren't great with having words to describe what they did because they didn't need to. They
Didn't
let,
need it.
They let it all happen on
Whistling and actions of
Yeah.
words spoke loud for throwing hot dogs at crowd members too. Sorry, I got off on a tangent there.
the
Go
floor.
back. You were
That's
saying
okay,
something interesting.
Because this next bit is confusing me a bit. Every sports team, no matter how influential, went through tough times, but how they responded was a measure of success. He said there seemed to be conflicting narratives coming out of Red Hill. I would
Yeah.
suggest the conflicting narratives are coming out of this newspaper article.
They're coming out of you, mate.
because-
one of them's the Valium, one's the deer, and one's the impotent.
Impotency, yeah.
Bizarre.
Also, are we why are we worried about players being impotent? We don't want them kind of run around on the field with, chubbed up. do we?
Maybe has anyone thought that maybe they're impotent because of the Valium? maybe they'd be more ready to go if they got off the valve.
Yeah, I'd like an understanding of why Phil wants to see players with chubs.
Have you ever heard of Phil Murphy before this?
No, but I haven't kind of looked up who owns 22% of the Broncos before either. So.
No. So I think maybe Phil should shut up.
Well, he's not going to because this article goes on.
What do you got for me?
Nobody's on the same page. It's like their storybook. Here's another analogy for you.
Good.
It's like their storybook is 1,000,000 pages and nobody knows which one to open next. Okay. So hang on.
Go on.
So
That's
normally
deep.
you would say, surely the one following the one you're on.
Yeah, sure.
But he says it's like a choose-your-own-adventure book where you can never get to the end, he said. This is... Look, okay, so I was with him with the impotency.
Yeah, it's fine. Sure.
I was
It's
with
an
him with the
analogy.
Valium.
Deer in headlights. I can even follow
although I
him
don't
there.
see the two going together,
no,
I
no.
can picture them together
Yep.
somehow. Deer in headlights, we established what
Sure,
that
but
meant.
now they're reading a book that's 1,000 pages long, but
Yeah.
it's also a choose-your-own-adventure
It's also
that
a
has no
choose-your-own
end.
adventure. Also, there are conflicting narratives and no words to describe this situation.
And everyone's on different pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, wow. It's quite literature-based, isn't it?
Yeah, but also, you could get to the end of Choose Your Own Adventure books, usually before you wanted to.
Sometimes you turn the page and you're accidentally at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's their problem. Maybe they've turned the page. Maybe they're at the end.
I think the conflicting narratives are because this guy's sending emails to players and they don't know, they don't understand what they're meant to do or what's happening.
He strikes me as the kind of owner who might send emails to the players, but only certain players, and different emails to different people.
You're impotent.
You're impotent. You're a deer in headlights.
Goes to Milfy.
Yeah.
You're on Valium to Lodjo.
Yeah. Well, that'd help us all if Matty Lodge got on the Valium.
All right, so that's the one sensible thing that's come out of this. Yeah. Get Matty Lodge on some Valium.
Get the impotency away from Matty Lodge.
A lot safer.
Yeah.
All right, so there's a lot of concern from people with a stake in the club. I know everybody goes through tough times, but if you are backed into a corner, you don't lay down. So there's another attempt at an analogy. Watching some of those tries over recent months, it makes you crook in the guts.
I've not heard that analogy. If you're backed into a corner, don't lay down. Is that usually said like that?
Probably the least of my worries with this article.
Yeah.
Murphy said he never coveted a spot on the club's board and won't be up for election at the AGM on Tuesday. He said his regular offers to give the club business advice had fallen on deaf ears. All right, so this guy's got a chip on his shoulder about...
Because they're not asking him for business advice?
Yeah.
How's the business of the Broncos going, though? Fine, right? Surely fine. It's just their on-field product that's no good.
It's the same as everybody else's. Munted because of COVID, I would have thought. Yeah. I've put my hand up many times, not to get into the board to try and run the show or dictate terms, but I know what it takes for a business to be successful, he said. It's a drive with passion, not being half-hearted about anything.
And keeping the Valium till the end of the day.
Yeah. So you know the person who you'd probably really want on your board the most? Someone who runs to the press with sour grapes the minute.
Yeah, nice. Well said. Sour grapes and mixed metaphors and bizarreness. Yeah.
Yeah, so all right, so that's the pretty much all property tycoon Phil Murphy had to say, despite the fact that he had no words. So
no words to say, is a property tycoon, yet has a lot of words about.
Also, do other people describe him as a tycoon, or is that sort of thing you describe yourself as?
Self-described tycoon.
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought tycoon implied evil in some way. Does it?
Well, because it's usually associated with certain media owners.
Yeah, tycoon.
Who have a bit of a kind of emperor, Sidious feeling about them. Yes. Emperor Palpatine's feeling about them. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd have the moxie to ever call myself a tycoon, no matter how successful I was.
How tycoonish you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about that for the Seattle Tycoons?
Seattle Tycoons is good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tech money there, I think.
There you go.
Seattle Tech Money Tycoons.
Yes.
On that note, I think maybe we'll finish it up for this week, Stu.
Yeah, I'd like a chicken wrap.
I'd like a chicken burger.
Well, let's go get one. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, friends.
Hello, my name is Piers Grove, and I'm a founder, publisher, and managing director. In March 2022, I'd just been named Managing Director of Australian Geographic and set up Scout Publishing. Then, everything changed. 404 Brain Not Found, the podcast for stroke survivors and their friends and colleagues. We explore the absurd experience and frustrating journey of stroke recovery. 404 Brain Not Found, a general experiments podcast on all podcast streamers.
My name's Stu.
I'm Rachel.
And we are fans.
Obsessives might be the word.
Of the 90s. The 90s. The 90s. The 90s. You can follow the podcast on your favourite podcast app. Rachel, what's the name of the show?
Swinging on the flippity flop.
Why the 90s?
We lived it.
We lived it. We were it.
Was it the best decade ever or the lamest? Let's find out.
Flippity flop.